Now, just because we're using the Learning Mastery Gradebook and you have the ability to grade assignments using a rubric doesn't mean that every single assignment that you give students needs to be in the Learning Mastery Gradebook. You can still make judicious decisions on which assignments you're going to include and which assignments you're not going to include. For example, you might determine that some assignments are really just practice and they're not necessarily assessment pieces. So how do you go about that? So right here you can see that I have about 7 worksheets on this, but if you were to click on worksheet 4 and worksheet 6, you'll notice that worksheet 4 has some assessment criteria. I've added some standards here, whereas worksheet 6 I have not. There is no rubric. That's because this is a practice worksheet and this is a worksheet that I actually want to count towards the Learning Mastery Gradebook. So when I actually click on grades and go to Learning Mastery Gradebook, the assignments that are being calculated here are only the work samples really that I've added a rubric to. Now, if later on I determine, you know what, I think I do want to actually use worksheet 6 for a grade or for the Learning Mastery Gradebook, I can still come in and add a rubric after the fact, after I've already done grading. And I'll come in here and I'll choose what my standard is. I'm going to do number 6 because you'll notice that there was no standard there. Notice that it is in the Learning Mastery Gradebook though. I can hide it because it has no outcomes yet, but because it's already been imported, even if it hasn't been attached to a particular assignment, it's going to display on here. So I'm going to choose that one so that we can have that grade. And I'm going to say use the rubric for assignment grading, create rubric. Now, notice though that if I go into SpeedGrader, or if I look back here in my gradebook, I'm editing worksheet number 6. I've already graded worksheet number 6. So how do I get those grades on the Learning Mastery Gradebook? Remember, if it's not on a rubric, it's not in the Learning Mastery Gradebook. Well, simply, I've already graded it. And so all I'm going to do is I'm going to give myself a little bit of space here. I'm going to hit review rubric. They had a score of 3, so I'm going to give them a 3. Hit save. Next one, a score of 1. So I'm going to give them a 1. So on and so forth. So I do have the ability to retroactively decide an assignment is going to be a part of the Learning Mastery Gradebook based off of, for whatever reason I want to. And now as I add those all have the scores. Now when I come back to the Learning Mastery Gradebook, you can see, refresh here. Oh, you know what? I think I didn't hit save on somebody. Let's go back to Samantha. Who are the students? Samantha and Stanley. Okay, so view rubric. And what was their score? They had a score of 1. View rubric 1 and save. Okay, now let's refresh. Oh, it's still not showing there. So, it's because, there we go. So, view rubric 1, save. And there it is. Okay. It's because I had added a rubric to that assignment before. And yes, 1 is missing here. But the entire point here is that you can have that freedom to add assignments to the Learning Mastery Gradebook according to how you're actually teaching. You don't have to add every single one. Some can be practiced, and you do have the ability to add some retroactively. Big caveat here, though. Remember that we can't add a rubric to an external submission type only before we add that tool, as we learned in that video. And so if you have done an assignment using an external tool, an external submission type, Google Doc, whatever, and then you decide that you want to add a rubric to it, you're not going to be able to. And so for those ones, you really have to make that decision beforehand. Cheers.